All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us, taking some time out of the middle of the day um, to connect with us and just kind of talk through some of the things that some of our larger locations, some of the challenges that they have to deal with. I'm going to go through some stuff, some tips that we have, and then at the end, we'll have a time open for you guys to share ideas and ask questions of other people who are going through similar stuff just like you guys. All right. So obviously, when you have a large location, that requires a lot of detailed planning and a strong team of volunteers to make it successful. So some things that you want to make sure you're doing when you're planning this out is developing a comprehensive task list, making sure that you break it down so it's manageable and not overwhelming. Make sure that you organize your volunteer team, give them jobs, assign them specific things, and make sure that they have that list and specific responsibilities so everyone knows what they're doing and there's less confusion on the day of. You also want to make sure that you're maintaining a strong communication with your sponsorship groups, engaging with them regularly, using some of our messaging. If they're local, attend some of the events that they're having. Because what we do would not be possible if you didn't have people out there on the ground raising money for the wreaths. And I know many of you guys are sponsorship groups as well, but you also have multiple groups fundraising for your location. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Also, make sure you're securing corporate sponsors wherever possible. Reach out to your local national and businesses for REIT sponsorships, grants, in-kind donations. A lot of times they're willing to help out with supplies and equipments. So it's something you want to make sure you're putting in your plans. And customize your Reads Across America page. Keep your page up to date with all event details so that your community knows what to expect on Wreath Day, page alerts, dashboards, all kinds of stuff that we have lots of information on and lots of tutorials on for you guys to be able to use. And that is all available on the volunteer resource page, which many of you on here already know about if you come to any of the other webinars because we talk about it all the time. All right. So some of the key tasks for our larger locations include your grade specific requests, organizing and managing those grade specific requests if you choose to accept them, making sure you're assigning volunteers and communicating with the families about those wreath placements. It's a big part of this. Also, your volunteer coordination. You want to recruit and organize volunteers for various tasks, ensuring clear roles and responsibilities on event day. Again, if people know what they're doing and where they're supposed to be, it's going to go a lot smoother than if everyone shows up on the day of and everybody is willing to help, but nobody knows what they're doing. In-kind donations. So when you secure in-kind donations for events, things like chairs, sound systems, refreshments, shuttles, printing, waste receptacles, those are all things that some of our larger locations tend to need. Ceremony planning, important task on there. So arranging your ceremony details, including speakers, music, if you're going to have some. Again, there's that sound system, making sure you have a color guard and that you have a plan for your ceremonial wreath placement. For wreath delivery and unloading, you want to make sure that you're tasking out coordinating the delivery, unloading and counting the wreaths, counting the boxes, not the wreaths, sorry, counting the boxes and counting the boxes again with those wonderful little, clickers that we give you. So we make sure that we're unloading offloading the correct amount so that we don't have any issues with other deliveries down the road. And then making sure that you're staging them throughout the sections where they need to be. Section coverage. So work with your cemetery staff to determine which sections will be covered and how many wreaths are going to be needed for each section so that you know where to lay them out. And logistics and operations. So plan for parking, traffic control, seating, volunteer management, again, to ensure that smooth day operations. And then post your event cleanup information, making sure that you're sharing that wreath cleanup because a lot of people in your area, they may know that you're placing wreaths and they show up for wreath placement, but a lot of them don't think about the fact that those also have to be picked up. So make sure you're sharing that information, posted on your wreath day, posted on your pages, share it on your social media, so that people know what day to come back to help get that cleaned up, and make sure you're communicating that date with your cemetery staff. Let's talk specifically kind of about the ceremony planning. So some things that you want to consider are the sound. Where your locate cemetery is at, can everybody hear you? Can everybody see you? Do you need chairs? Are you going to need some places for people to sit? When you're picking your speaker, make sure that you're picking someone non-controversial, because we certainly don't want to taint a wonderful experience with backlash afterwards because someone that can cause controversy is up there speaking. And you will hear about it. So next, some things that you consider for getting some of that support that you need there is contact your USO Red Cross for water and first aid trailers. Ask local businesses if they can donate porta potties, chairs, gloves, and safety vests. And don't wait till the last minute to ask, because while a lot of them may be able to accommodate it, you're more likely to get that covered without any additional cost if you contact earlier in the year. Printing and supplies is another great thing. You can reach out to local print companies. A lot of times they're happy to help print out programs, maps of cemeteries, and then also for your ceremonial stands. If you don't have some made, you can ask local florist shops or funeral homes if they are willing to donate those. If you do have some made or are going to have some made, make sure that you plan where you will store those. The cemetery may be able to store them, but if a lot of you guys on here have national cemeteries, and I know storage is very limited in what we can use there. So keep that in mind when you are planning out your wreath stands and if you're going to purchase them and keep them on hand. Also invite your local media and assign volunteer to greet them with press kits so that when they show up, they know where to go. Arrange a photographer or videographer. Make sure that if you are going to use a drone at a national cemetery, you do have to get approval 45 days prior to the ceremony. And then you can submit requests for a bugler via Bugle Across America. I know that we have that link somewhere floating around, and someone can probably drop it in the chat for us. And then make sure you're saying thank you, because you guys, especially our larger ones, you're working with a whole team of people to make this possible. And you want to make sure that you're showing your gratitude for everyone involved, no matter how big or small of a part they are playing. If they are helping you guys make Wreath Day possible, you want to make sure you're showing that gratitude to them, listing them in the program, or just publicly thanking them as a part of the ceremony. Very specific requests. We're going to talk about that a little bit, because that's, if you choose to do so, and we do allow everyone the choice of whether or not they can do this, because it is a big undertaking and it's a big commitment if you say that you're going to do this. It's very personal for families and loved ones who are able to honor their loved one's grave with a wreath that's requested. And it's a big undertaking if you yourself are saying, hey, if you're not able to attend, we'll place it for you. Because obviously we don't want to just say like, yep, we're going to place that for you. We want to make sure that we are actually placing it, making sure that they're placed, and being prepared if there's any issues and one gets moved afterwards, or not missed on accident, or if there's any confusion around that. So some of the things you can do to help is mark the graves. You can request donations of a surveyor or an American flag from a local hardware store to mark the graves and notify others to leave those for the families. I know some of the locations I've seen them, they actually make their own little kind of, can't think of the word to describe it, but a little stick to put in the ground that kind of has a sign on it that says, a loved one is coming to place this wreath. And so that way, when people go to that grave, they know that someone is actually going to be coming to place a wreath on that grave, and they'll kind of pass it. And you can include those instructions in your ceremony as well. And that would be for those who, when they place the grave specific, choose that option of will place myself. You want to make sure you're organizing your list after your cutoff date for your region. You want to go ahead and download that and sort that grade specific list so that you can divide them out by sections. That's probably what is going to work best for the larger locations. And then also making sure you're dividing them out by who wants to place them themselves and who is going to have you place them for them. If you have people who are going to be placing them themselves, one thing you got to think about is where they're going to show up, where they're going to come to get them, and make sure you're communicating that with them so they know where to be on wreath day to get their wreath, of whether you're going to have those set aside, how many you have to have set aside. And then for the ones that you're placing for them, kind of decide how you're going to place those with your team, whether again, that's as a part of the ceremony, you're just going to let people place wreaths and then walk those afterwards and have some set aside, or you set some aside and just plan to walk those and place them as a team afterwards. Just some things to consider. Also, I do recommend when you go to download that grave specific request, you don't want to do it immediately after your cutoff date because you do have a little bit of time still. I would probably do it like the week before. That way you can catch any last minute ones. Obviously, you know, if you guys have done this before, you probably have had some people who go on the day before and they place a grave specific request and then like, well, why didn't get it placed? Well, within reason, it needs to be placed in time. And we do have a note on there that encourages them that the wreath has to be placed within a specific amount of time to be able to place, get the grave specific wreath there. But we do ask you to just do your best to catch as many of those last ones as you can. A lot of the larger cemeteries, we are, sending some extra wreaths where, you've got full trucks coming. So a lot of times you can accommodate those last minute requests. And that's a big deal for the family if you're able to do that. And it's just going to make it go smoother if you can place it rather than dealing with the call afterwards because they're like, well, I placed my wreath the week before and it's not there, or my sponsorship week before, and the wreath isn't there. Also, you want to make sure that you are keeping extra wreaths aside, even after wreath day, because you've got someone who shows up the day after. I thought I ordered a grave specific and there's not one on my loved one's grave. Or even if they didn't order a grave specific, they show up and they're like, hey, how come my loved one did not get a wreath? It's always better to have a box of wreaths aside, depending on how many wreaths you're getting, maybe a box or two, just for some last minute requests or issues. That way you don't have people who are, upset or frustrated. And if possible, if you are able to take photos to send of the grave specifics, that is going to mean a lot. And again, that's a big undertaking for a lot of our larger cemeteries, but I know some of you do it. Get yourself a team, get some group of young people and put them to work. Send them out there to take those photos and you can upload those right in the dashboard, or we have seen a couple groups that I've done them where they posted them on their Facebook page and people can kind of just look through the albums, whatever works best. But if you can actually have those photos available for people that aren't able to attend and place that wreath themselves, it's going to mean a lot. All right, so let's talk about the logistics of your wreath delivery. So your wreaths are, delivered no cost thanks to our donated trucking companies. And that delivery can happen anytime in a 2-week window leading up to wreath day. You want to make sure you are ready to receive that delivery on short notice. While many of our wonderful truck drivers have gotten much better over the last few years, I think you can all agree if you've been doing this for many years that the communication there is much better. And a lot of times they'll call like a week ahead or 2 weeks ahead. Some of the larger ones where they have multiple trucks coming, they're kind of scheduling that even earlier than that. But you still need to be prepared because there's still going to be those that they might give you 24 hours notice. They might call you an hour before. All we can do is ask them and we try to educate them the best that we can that, hey, we really need a little bit of heads up on this, but be prepared. So have a calling tree of volunteers available for last minute in case you're not able to go meet them and they do call last minute. Make sure you have a place for those to be stored, whether it's a cemetery or off site. That does need to be out. You should be planning that now. If you are just assuming you're going to be placing it at your cemetery and storing it there, I would not assume. I would confirm that. You want to make sure you're reaching out to that cemetery, especially the national cemeteries. They've had a lot of changes over the last few years. So while they may have been storing your wreaths every year since we've started this, it may not be the same this year because they have just been cracking down a little bit. So especially if you have a new cemetery director, just make sure you're reaching out and you're confirming with them because you don't want a surprise at the last minute. And then there's a scramble to have to get a storage for those wreaths. Some places that you can consider are National Guard units, fire stations, VFWs, American Legion Post, and some offsite warehouses are willing to store them and even help bring them in on the day of too. All right. And then we do have with our palletized boxes, Some are palletized, some are not. Some, depending on if you specifically are like, hey, we have a forklift, it's going to be so much easier if we can, have them delivered all palletized. Go ahead and just communicate that with your words are hard today because it's Friday, with your regional liaison team, because they can put in a special request with our logistics team, just letting them know, and we can try to accommodate that. But again, keep in mind, all of our trucking is donated, and we are very, very thankful for them to make it possible for us to send all the wreaths without having to add on, any shipping costs or anything like that. So we try to accommodate them wherever we can. All right, so here is our boxes that many of you know are new boxes from last year. We had a lot of good response on it. I am not going to go down through all of this. We're just going to pause briefly on this side so everyone can see this. And we are these slides will be available for you to download online by the end of the day, Monday. So you'll be able to see all this information, and it's shared in many other places. So most of you have probably seen this before. All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about traffic control. So you wanna make sure a big part of having a large location is you need to make sure you have plenty of parking. If you don't, you need to get offsite location and then consider, are we gonna have to bus people over, and how are we gonna do that? And a big part of that is getting your local law enforcement involved in helping kind of organize that parking and the traffic control. And I believe Janine is on with us today. And if she is, I'm going to let her go ahead and pop up and just speak a little bit.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you, Julie. Howdy, everybody. My name is Janine Roberts. I'm Reach Across America Law Enforcement Liaison. And in regards to working with you in your local communities, any of you that do not have or are struggling to connect with your local police departments to have them assist with escorts or possibly a color guard, a speaker, many of our officers are veterans, but anything you're trying to do with law enforcement, if you don't already have a relationship and you've tried to reach out and you're not getting the response that you're looking for, what I offer is to leverage my 35 years in law enforcement and prior rank of being a police chief to reach out, introduce myself, explain what Reach Across America is, and that I'm trying to find the right point of contact within that particular police department to work with you and your other volunteers. And then once I make that connection, I hand them off to you, hoping/expecting that they will you'll build a relationship and be able to work forward with what you need, recognizing that across our country, our law enforcement and first responders staffing has taken a hit over the last few years. So depending on what resources are available, but from my experience in coordinating the convoy that happens between Maine and Arlington National Cemetery for that week-long event, if you've heard about that before, is the police departments are all in. Anytime they learn what we're talking about and what we're trying to do and accomplish, and recognizing your local veterans, your local Blue Star, Gold Star family members, that they want to participate in any level that they may. And you may be able to even get people to volunteer versus having to pay for traffic details and those types of things. When I get done chatting, I will put in I should say, when I get done talking, I'll put in the chat box my contact information, and feel free to reach out to me. The earlier the better, because like you, I am planning several other things, and there might be other people reaching out and asking, and I want to make sure that I can give the time and the attention to talk to you to find out what your needs are, what you've already tried, and what I might try to do with some suggestions I might be able to give you, as well as how I might make the connection and help you out. Knowing that you've got a full webinar, Julie, is it value in asking if anybody has any specific questions of me now so that I can step off and keep on my to-do list?
Yeah, sure. No, go ahead. If anybody's got any questions for Janine, you can go ahead and speak up, and we'll pick her brain while she's here with us. No pressure. They're all pros.
Bumper to bumper, double stacked.
Yes. Hi, Wayne.
All right. Well, and you
All
guys,
right.
like she said, she's got her gonna drop her information in the chat box, and you can always reach out to your liaisons, and they can connect you with her. And she is a resource that's there and available for us. And so, we need to use the resources we have. We got lots of resources. Let's use them where we can.
Exactly.
Thanks,
And my
Janine.
biggest philosophy in life is you can't say yes if I don't ask. So
That's
give a
right.
call, reach out with an email, and otherwise, thank you for all you do. And I'll be around if you need me.
Thanks, Janine.
Thank you.
Oh, my slide is stuck. Oh, there. All right, so let's talk about staging the wreaths and distributing them on wreath day. So I know, and many of you, if you've done this before, it's always a challenge trying to find ways to make the process smoother. If you're brand new, this is something you want to make sure that you're considering because on wreath day, if you have a lot of wreaths, if you don't have a plan in place to stage them throughout the cemetery or distribute them in a organized manner, it can turn into a little bit of a free for all with, people just coming and grabbing wreaths and then taking off. And, they might have, someone might have 10 wreaths to place and then someone doesn't get to place a wreath. So the goal is we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to participate that's there. So one thing that can help with a larger location is staging the wreaths throughout the cemetery. And if you do that, you do want to make sure that you have one of your volunteer team members at each of these locations to help, organize those wreaths when they're passing them out again, because you don't want a free for all when people just coming up and, oh, here's a pile of wreaths, let's go. um, and you can kind of count those if you know how many are in each section. You can count out how many wreaths you need by boxes, so that way you kind of have them spread out too and people aren't having to walk as far. It makes it a little bit easier. And again, don't forget to keep that buffer stock aside for any last minute issues that you may need to address. And if you place them all or you had some aside and more issues come up, you can always reach out to us because we will continue to, if something happens, like, hey, someone showed up, they're really upset because their wreath didn't get placed, I don't have any extras, I don't know what to do, call your regional liaison because we could usually send those wreaths, send you another box of wreaths so you have some extras to place and to be able to accommodate that. Obviously, with once we get closer to Christmas, it kind of gets to the point where it's after Christmas, which makes it a little bit challenging. Some people are like, never mind, but just reach out to your liaisons because we can help you with that. We do recommend when you're distributing those wreaths, 1 to 2 wreaths per person, especially if you have a large number of volunteers and limited number of wreaths. Just again, to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to be able to participate and place a wreath. And if possible, invite your local youth organizations to help people find those graves because some of the large cemeteries, we have all these like the maps and stuff like that where you can here's this section, here's this site. That can be a little overwhelming for people. So maybe they haven't been at that cemetery. So if you've got local CAP or some local school groups that can kind of be available at the wreath distribution area where they can help walk people to that grave if they're not 100% sure of where to go, especially some elderly people who may have trouble walking. It's a lot easier if they don't have to walk in circles trying to find where they're going. You have someone there to help them. So all right. So wreath cleanup again, everyone knows we're placing wreaths, but they don't always know that we have to go back and pick them up. So we want to make sure that we're communicating that, planning that out ahead of time. If you have a date already planned out for your wreath cleanup, you can share that on your wreath day ceremony. So that way people who are there placing those wreaths know, oh, hey, we need to come back and help pick them up. If you do have a national cemetery, you need to make sure that those are going to be picked up by the third Saturday of January. I am assuming that there is going to be no change here. However, we will get those NCA guidelines. Usually it's end of October, early November that they send them, where if there was any change on that, they would let us know and we will share that with them. If you are not at a national cemetery, you just need to communicate with your cemetery and see what date they would like them picked up and work with them on that. Most people have theirs picked up by the end of January. If you live way up north, you get lots of snow. Sometimes they don't pick them up till April because it just depends on the weather. The biggest thing is we want to make sure that we are getting those picked up before they'd start turning brown because we certainly do not want brown wreaths left on graves. That is not a good look for anybody. So some things that you can do for getting those cleaned up, make sure you work with your local waste management company, see if they're willing to donate dumpsters for you, see if they can, if the cemetery has a backhoe or something that can squish them down so you can pack a little bit more in there. Also, you can do some recycling. I know many of the larger locations probably don't want to disassemble, 5,000 or more wreaths to be able to recycle them. But some things that you can do is talk to your local American Legion, see if maybe they can do a flag retirement ceremony in conjunction with the wreath retirement ceremony and actually burn those. And then you can take those metal rings and turn those into be recycled. We also have some of our locations that, use them for fisheries, habitats, and stuff like that. So lots of different things. Just ask around, ask your liaisons. We have all this stuff, and resources that you can look through of some ways that other people have, handled the disposal of the wreaths. And then make sure that you're communicating with your people about that cleanup. Let them know, like, hey, bring gloves, bring a broom, bring ropes, like things that they can do because they're going to be bringing lots of wreaths. While we might want to say one or two to pass out, when it comes time for cleanup, again, you're going to have less people. So you're gonna be like, yeah, no, you can grab like 10 or more. Let's go. Let's stuff them on that broom and let's drag them over here to the dumpster. So if you share that ahead of time with your wreath plans, let them know what to expect and what to bring. That's just going to make it go smoother so everyone knows what to do. And the number one tip for success is going to be building a strong planning committee, because you guys are amazing, but you cannot do it yourself. You're going to get burnt out if you try to do it all on your own. So I'm going to recommend that you really make sure you build that strong committee of volunteers to help you and delegate those tasks out to people. Let people help. And a lot of times people are willing to help. They just don't know that you necessarily need help. So if you don't ask, that you're never going to know if someone can help you. So, if you have a specific thing that you need help with, put it out to your people. Hey, I need a volunteer to help me pass out, grade specific wreaths. We do have a template that is fully customizable that is on our volunteer resource page that kind of lists out different tasks and roles that you can assign. Some of them may not work specifically for your location, and that's fine. It's customizable, so you can just delete it. Or maybe there's something very specific that you need that other locations don't necessarily need, and you can add that on there. So I do recommend checking that out. And that was designed by location coordinators just like you, who said, hey, this is kind of the template that this is what we use to divide out the tasks and stuff among our volunteers. All right. So communication, super important all the time. We've talked about it a few times already, but messaging your supporters and the community to let them know what to expect the day of, on wreath day, where to be. If you are placing your wreath and then holding a ceremony, that's something you want to make sure people know. If you're going to be, having a ceremony and then placing your wreath an hour later, that's also something you want to let them know. So you want to make sure that Wreaths Across America page that you can update is updated with all the information. If you're not comfortable going on there and updating it yourself, reach out to your liaisons because they can help do that for you. We have page alerts that you can use to pop out as soon as people go to your page. It's right there on a box like, hey, this is what time our ceremony is, this is what time to be there. And that's a great resource to use to kind of get the stuff out there to people. Messaging in the dashboard, you can break it down by, for grade specific, you can break it out by if they're placing themselves or if they want you to place it for them. You can email sponsors and current volunteers or past sponsors and past volunteers. Lots of different options and templates there. And we do have on the volunteer resource page, we have a dashboard tutorial that has all that information for sending those messages out. But you want to make sure you're getting the word out there to the people of clearly communicating when to arrive, what time it's going to start, and what to expect regarding parking if they have to park off site. And, if you have like featured speakers you can highlight too, you just want to make sure the more that you share and that people know what to expect, the smoother it's going to go. All right, so this right here on the left-hand side, I always have to think, I'm like, it's my left-hand side. The wreathometer that's on the page here. That is where this is driven by your wreath sponsorship goal. This is not your veterans grave count. So many of you on here may know, but we're going to go over it because I think it's really important. But your veterans grave count is what determines what you are going to be shipped out of your sponsored wreaths. So we are going to send you your sponsored wreaths up to your veterans grave count, unless you have like a special arrangement set up with your liaisons. So if you have your veterans grave count at 5,000, but it's increased and you actually, have 6,000 now and you have 6,000 sponsorships, but your count still says 5,000. Once it hits that 5,000 mark, that's where we stop with the shipping unless you tell us to update that number. And don't worry, we will message you and bug you and remind you to say, hey, you've got 6,000 wreaths and you've only got 5,000 graves. Do you want to give those wreaths to another location in need? So if you just, and so don't worry about it too much, but keep in mind, as you get updated information from your cemeteries, you want to make sure you're giving that information to your liaison so that we can get that updated for you. If you are, not going to make your goal. And a lot of the locations on here aren't because you have, 100,000 graves and, you're not getting that many wreaths. One thing to keep in mind here is this wreathometer, because again, it's driven by that sponsorship goal. You can change that goal down so that it's more obtainable, because a lot of times if you have it on here and you've got, you're like, not even halfway to your goal, they might help you, but it's going to be more of a call to action if they feel like they're helping you reach that goal. So if it's a more obtainable goal, a lot of times you can get more sponsorships that way because they're like, oh, my wreath's going to make a difference here. They're like, oh, they still need another 60,000. They might look at it and be like, oh, it's not really going to matter. But we all know that every single wreath matters because that is a veteran that's being honored. So I just encourage you to kind of keep in mind that that's how that goal here works. Or if you are already covered for your location and it's already showing fully covered, you can increase that goal. So that way it shows like you're not covered. So again, you continue to get wreath sponsorships that you can roll over to the next year or that you can gift to other locations. All right, so here is your pager, and you see that wreathometer again, and this is kind of what your pages all look like. You can customize all of these. So you want to customize that background photo, make that your own picture of your cemetery. Make it so that when people go to that page, they're like, oh, hey, I know that cemetery. I drive by it every day to go to work. I know people there. So customize this page. You've also got in there, you've got your note cards and stuff like that. Again, that's all in the dashboard tutorial, how you can, customize your page. We have seen that pages that are customized tend to have more clicks and more responsorships than pages that are not customized. And this text on here is all editable. So you can go on, you can again customize that. This is where you're going to make sure that you're sharing information. So if you have your own stuff planned and you're like, no, I've shared it on my Facebook page, I've sent messages out, but if it's not updated on here and someone just comes to the Wreaths Across America website, they find your location and they think that they know what time to be there, but it does not match with what you've got on your own personal stuff. And they show up at the wrong time, they don't like that. They get very unhappy and they call us and poor Logan's there on Wreath Day, trying to say, I don't know why no one's there. So make sure that you are customizing this to share all of your information. And again, it's a great place to put, like, this is just a guideline. What's on there already, that's just a template. It's an idea of kind of what to say. You can add anything you want on there. Add your parking information, add specific instructions as far as time. If you have events coming up for leading up to Wreath Day, add that on there. If you're looking for a team of volunteers to help you, you can put that on there because maybe someone's going to come to that page and be like, oh, they also need volunteers to help place very specific requests. So let me contact them. Use this page because you have a lot of access to be able to edit it and make it your own. And if you need help, just reach out to your liaisons. They love when I tell you guys to reach out to them, and they can help you guys walk through, edit all that stuff. Even if you have trouble uploading the photos, you can send it to liaisons and they're happy to put them on for you. Sorry, I'm a little dry. All right, so let's talk about social media. Again, for you guys, your bigger locations, a lot of you have Facebook pages. It's really important to make sure you're sharing that information on social media. It's a great resource to use with sharing, ceremony stuff. You can create an event on there so people kind of know when to come. I know if you familiar with Facebook, if there's an event going on locally, a lot of times it'll show up as a suggested idea, like, hey, this event's happening near you. Do you want to attend? So having an event on there that's connected to your page is a great way to let people know about your ceremony and share that. You want to make sure that you aren't talking politics or anything controversy on there. That is a don't, and Amber will have taught words with you. You do want to make sure that you're sharing stories, though, sharing, positive stories, maybe about some local veterans and community celebrations that are going on. Share your events that your sponsorship groups are holding. If they've got a fundraising event coming up, go ahead and share that on there so people know they can come out and not only support that group, but they're also supporting your location. And make sure that you are saying thank you on there. Those are all like the do's you can do. You can post that image of your wreathometer. That's a great way to get people involved. Just you can like literally screenshot it, drop it on there with a post like, hey, like we're like 75% way to our goal. Like help us reach that last little bit. And it's a great call to action because it gives them a visual of, what you have left. And then we do have our monthly messaging guide, which has the Reads Across America branded marketing materials available for download on our volunteer resource page. They are emailed out every month, but if you don't see them, you can always go onto our Facebook pages where Sam shares them for us, or you can download them on the volunteer resource page where we update those every month as well.
And also just a reminder, make sure that you're utilizing, whenever you share something from our pages, make sure you're utilizing your sponsorship link. And also social media is a great place to educate people. We all, I think, especially some of us who've been doing this for a long time, I think there's a assumption that everyone just knows what Reads Across America is. And it's mind-boggling to me how few people really understand what's happening. So social media is a great place to just, post regular did you knows that have information about the mission and about what the goals of the local community are, and that gets people engaged as well. I know I just saw
Yes,
that this.
thanks.
Do you want me to talk about
Yes,
this,
oh yeah.
Julie?
Yes, please.
Yeah, and then obviously media coordination and Reads Across America, public relations, this is it's so critical to what we're doing. Back to the original a couple slides ago, Julie's talking about messaging. If you do not tell people what's happening, they will not know what's happening. So that includes the media. The media has a job to share community news. So as long as you are, all the information that you're posting on your page, that you're putting out to your volunteers, that's the information that you should be sharing with your local media. And don't wait till the week before. We really encourage you to, look at a calendar, try and coordinate with dates on the calendar that might be relevant to your community, to the national news cycle. It's important to just stay in front of your local media as much as possible and get them involved. I mean, one of the best ways to engage with local media is to have them come out and participate. And that now is a great time to start having those conversations with your local media. Get them involved, let them know that we'd like for them to participate and place a wreath, and also see what's going on and how other programs in the community are getting involved, because I think that's also really important. Reads Across America is an organization that brings together all these different community programs, and so it's a great way to highlight lots of good work in the area all in one place. On the volunteer resource page, we have a lot of templated material. We try to make this as simple as possible for you. We know that you're not PR folks. So, plugging and playing with those public press releases and some of the other templates that we have is a great way to just, use the tools available to you. We do have staff resources. Obviously, Rachel, I think some of you might have seen her. She's our new PR person. She's out on the West Coast, but ready and willing to help and talk through any questions, and also look at maybe contacts for local media in your areas if you need help reaching out to some different folks. But there's so many ways to connect with the media. It's just a matter of making sure you're giving yourself enough time, and also being really clear about what the message is. And honestly, really, I can't let this go, reminding you, we have our own media here at Reads Across America. Reads Across America Radio it's your station. We're here. If you want to share what you have happening in your community, please reach out to us, and we will get you on the station, and then you can get the SoundCloud file and you can share that with people. You can let people know you're on the station, and it's just a great way to practice too. If you're new to doing interviews, we'll be very kind and gentle, and we'll make sure that you're sharing your story. And honestly, the best thing to do, again, is to share the stories of the people in your community. If you have some Gold Star families, if you have veterans in your community who are actively engaged and willing to share why this mission is important to them, those are the people that the press want to hear from. So, make sure that you have some of those folks ready to and willing to talk come Wreath Day. But we're here to help. You can reach out. I think most people know me, but happy to help through any, thoughts, and even just if you want us to look at drafts, whatever it might be, we're happy to help. But please don't hesitate. And now's a good time to start planning for outreach.
Thanks, Amber.
Mhm.
All right. So some ways that you can stay connected with us here on this page. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to encourage every one of you guys, if you are not on our Facebook group pages for locations and groups, separately, locations and groups, I am going to encourage you to go ahead and sign up today. Those links are right on there. And one of my liaisons can probably drop those right in the chat for me, so they're easy to just click on and go ahead and ask to join. When you ask to join, it is going to ask you for your ID, because we just like to verify that you are actually a location coordinator. As you guys know, there are lots of situations where sometimes you may deal with stuff that you're like, I need advice from another location coordinator, maybe exactly how to handle a sponsorship group that's maybe a little troublesome. So that's why we do keep that location page strictly to location coordinators. So you guys kind of have a safe place to go and talk with other location coordinators about maybe some challenges that you're having without people who aren't in that specific position getting upset. And you can also get ideas. It's a great place to share ideas, for you guys to share ideas, because you guys, especially some of you, I say lots of faces on here that have been doing this a long time. Share ideas that that work good, or suggestions that might help some of our new people. And it's a great place to be able to see what other people are doing too. So get ideas, share ideas. All great things happening on there. Same thing with the sponsorship group pages. It's just a great place to get lots of ideas for ways that you can get sponsors, do new sponsorship events. We do get most of our ideas for our fundraising idea guide on there, because we see something, we're like, oh, that's really cool and fun. And so we're going to steal that and we're going to put it in the fundraising idea guide for you guys. And then I have all those the pages as well, as well as our YouTube channel, which has all the volunteer webinars that we've done going back for 4 years now. Crazy to believe that it's been that long since we started doing them. So lots of stuff on there, and you can kind of search a topic. Sometimes it'll pop up exactly what we dealt with if you're, want to learn more about some of the things. So, and that is all I have for you guys today, because I wanted to try to save a little bit of time for you guys to be able to ask questions and share ideas amongst each other. So if you have a question or a suggestion, please feel free to go ahead and speak out. Go ahead, Michelle.
Take my hand down, I guess. I just wanted to kind of mention how we handle grief specific, because we get over 400 grief specific requests a year. Those that are volunteer placement, we actually will place those the Friday before Wreath Day, the day before, and it actually gives committee members a chance to lay wreaths that don't get a chance to lay wreaths on Wreath Day. And we also have some families that aren't able to participate on a Saturday. So they come out and help us lay wreaths. And then we take photos of all of those. That we're one of those Facebook groups that create a grave specific folder or album. And so everybody that asks for a volunteer to lay their wreath, we post those photos out on Facebook. And then the day of, we actually treat it as a drive-through. So at 9 a.m. on Wreath Day, we have a drive-through process by our administration building because we are a national cemetery. And we have 2 lanes that are cars and the boxes of wreaths are in the middle. And we have volunteers that verify orders, hand out wreaths. We hand them a map of the cemetery and then they can go and place it. And then we just ask them that they leave and go for parking and bring the bus back in for the ceremony at 11 o'clock. And that has been a huge positive that we've had, because when you have 200 coming to lay grave specific on Wreath Day, they get a chance to lay all their wreaths ahead of time, and we don't have the worry about they didn't get a chance to lay their own wreath. So just some of the things that we've done that have gone over really well with our groups.
I like that. Thank you for sharing, because that's a great solution to be able to avoid the some of the logistics around that. So thank you for sharing. All right, Amber, you guys are much quieter than the crowd the other day. Go ahead, Maria.
Hi, I've been involved with Race for years, but this is my first year as a co-location coordinator. I had 2 questions. One, can you give us a date for next year?
Yes.
Because what we do is we
15th, I think.
postcards that are save the date postcards that we hand out to everyone as they get on the buses as they leave the cemetery, which has our QR code on it so they can sponsor the right away. So that I have to get those printed for us.
December 13th, 2025.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you. I'm glad you didn't listen to me, because I was going the wrong way.
I'm going to copy and paste next several years and put it in the chat. I just had to send this to somebody.
Maria, we do also have some graphics on that too, on those Facebook pages we talked about. I know we shared them just recently, but your regional liaisons can provide you with that as well. And it's a graphic that just has like the next 3 years on it, so that you can, that's a great thing to be able to include when you're handing out on Wreath Day.
Yeah. And my second question is, if there are other, we're a national cemetery, and our goal this year is 21,000 wreaths. And we have a challenge we have a remote parking location. The roads to get to the cemetery are 2 lanes. We have lots of traffic issues that we're working through. And we work closely with the director of the cemetery, but the instructions we've received from the director of the cemetery are that if a family approaches the cemetery, we must allow them on property. Our rules for Wreaths Across America Day is we work really hard to say the only vehicles allowed on property are those with a handicap placard. And then we provide golf cart transportation around the cemetery to help them get to where they need to be. We have a big safety concern. So I'm just interested if there are other national cemetery teams that have an interesting, have you received that feedback that you must allow anyone on property?
Can I
Yeah,
ask a clarifying question, Maria, on that statement, just so I'm making sure that everyone understands? When you say that family, so is it a family pass holder for that location that you're saying that they are to be allowed on property into the grounds, or to park on property?
So our cemetery does not have family pass members. So
Okay.
any individual who comes they just pull up to the window. They could be dropping off a teenager to volunteer. They could be just coming to lay wreaths, and we have no way to verify. They just pull up to our volunteer standing there, go, "Oh, I'm family," and they go fly, they go right by, and they go anywhere in the cemetery. So it's a challenge.
So the directions that we've kind of the same thing, because we're Leavenworth National. If they are there for Wreath Day, we can tell them you have to go and park off site. But if they're just there to visit a family member, we have to allow them on the property because it's federal land and we can't stop someone. We actually have traffic control people at the entrance to the cemetery. And if they say they're there for Wreaths Across America, they get handed a map that gives them direction on where to go park. And we direct them away from the entrance to the cemetery. If they're there just to visit a family member, then they have to be allowed on. We can't stop them from coming in.
I'm just interested in learning how other cemeteries handle it. We're pretty congested. We actually still bring the trucks on site when everybody's there. So we have 5 semis, we have 200 motorcycles that provide an escort. We have a lot of handicap parking on site. We have 10 to 12 golf carts that are moving people with handicap challenges around the cemetery. We just are trying to be really focused on safety. So trying to limit the number of vehicles on property.
Sure. Are you guys using shuttles to bring them from the parking or just the golf carts?
We have 12 buses that run continuously from 7 a.m. until everybody's gone.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, so kind of mentioned this earlier, but every cemetery director is a little different. So some things can change and how they handle stuff. I wouldn't, if you work closely with them to share your concerns, of course, they are going to tell you that you have to tell them that you have to let them on because they're covering themselves. Obviously, they don't want to get in trouble. But all you can do is share the instructions. If you have that traffic control there, parking control there to say, hey, if you're here for Reed's Day, you got to come down here. We're going to bring people in. You're probably always going to have 1 or 2 people who think like, oh, I'm just going to lie and say that I'm here to visit so I can go on through. All you can do is try to manage what you can. And you're going to have a few ones that slide through, I guess. But
I appreciate it. I'm not trying to subvert or anything. It's just, national cemetery to national cemetery. It's consistent.
Yeah.
So that's good to know information and we'll move on.
Maria, who do you have at your entrance? Are the federal police going to be on ground that day?
We do not have, we have VA police are actually present, but they do not assist with traffic control. We have local sheriff's officers that assist us with traffic, but they cannot come on to cemetery property. So we have a team of volunteers this year. It's actually led by Team Rubicon, and we've been practicing with them for events all year for events at the cemetery. So we have a parking plan. We've done a lot of work on it.
Sounds like it.
So we also have a parking disaster. And we have very similar situations to what you have described. But what we have chosen to do, and we have a different parking plan this year because we're working really hard to overcome parking challenges. It was the biggest piece of negative feedback that we've gotten year over year, is that it is an adult. No matter what, it is an adult standing at the entrance so that any bad news or pushback that we get is not being handled by a student. We have a number of students on ground. So it's an adult, first of all, and that they are able to decipher whether it is truly pushback or whether it is, an actual valid reason, and it's not somebody just trying to not ride a shuttle. So we do have federal police at our entrance. Obviously, they're not supposed to be doing traffic, but the visual of a uniformed officer standing there does cause people to have a little bit more pause, even though they're not the person delivering the messaging. And then we want it to be a positive interaction for the day, right? So we're not going to fight with people at the entrance. We do really only want you to be placarded, handicap placarded for the day. But if you're really going to have it mess with people's days, by all means, if parking's that important to you, here you go. So I think if all the things that are going on, we actually have like ridiculous numbers of cars that come through our cemetery, and there's no way for you to park there. Like, it's physically impossible. So I would just say, don't let it be the hill that you die on, no pun intended. But if you can have a uniformed officer standing there, even if they're not doing traffic, it will give the illusion that maybe they will have less pushback, if that helps you. That's what we're doing.
I appreciate that. That's a great idea. We do have an ex-Marine with Team Rubicon who's going to be standing there, who's going to be a little more terse. Last year, we're so helpful. We almost bend over backwards And that's when people unfortunately take advantage of you. So we're trying, we want to make sure we stay safe so we can keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Best of luck.
If you've got local National Guard, they're also great to use for traffic control because they come in uniform. We use them for section leads and for traffic control, along with KU ROTC members. So that's also an option potentially to help.
Thanks for the ideas, guys. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah.
This is Misha.
Thank you, Beth.
Nice. Hello.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi. This is Misha, and I'm at Sarasota National. This is my, what, 8th year, I think. Well, 11 being involved, but 8 seems like forever. The one thing that, and we talk about parking and traffic issues, and again, we're on a 2-lane road, 5 miles west of or east of the interstate with absolutely nothing around us but new housing developments going in. And our cemetery has 600 hard parking spots. That's it. And we're now at 34,000 interred. So once again, this year, and this started back in COVID when we had to do hourly rotations or waves, we're doing the rotation again this year. And we always allow the morning portion of the day for families first or families only to come in and lay their loved one's wreath. And we do it in shifts. And we have to allow the visitors, the people that are unaware of Wreaths Across America or what's even going on, we have to allow, we do an average, I guess maybe especially this year might be different because it's not exactly the weekend before Christmas, but in past years, when the closer we are to the Christmas holiday, then the tighter I get with the bigger number of vehicles I allow in. But we keep traffic on a one-way distribution only. So one way in, one way out. And our cemetery director, and it is a national cemetery, by the way, will not allow, they will always have security on site. They have their own private security firm. Occasionally we get lucky and have VA police there, but they do not direct traffic. And our cemetery director says no one under the age of 18 can direct or be involved with traffic flow on cemetery grounds due to the liability of a minor being injured. So we pay very close attention to that. So back to the original plan, we allow about 450 cars and we issue vehicle passes for the day. And the mornings, hourly rotation, 8, 9, 10, and 11. They get 45 minutes to come in, receive their wreath in a drive-through, and go to their loved one's site, have their private time, and then leave and let the next rotation come through. This has worked successfully for us for 4 years. And we don't have any choice. Our cemetery is under new construction. Everybody says we can't park, there's going to be parking in the future in the back behind us, but right now it's off limits. So that's, the rotation basis works and people actually like it, especially families. So that last rotation at 11, they can come in, they can lay their loved one's wreath and then stay for the cemetery ceremony at noon. And then general public and anyone there that comes in will lay the remaining wreaths. And that seems to work the best for us. So just throwing that out there.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And like I said, it's important to talk to your cemetery directors because everyone is going to be different and they have, like they have this guidelines, but they tend to kind of do their own thing with their own cemeteries sometimes. Another thing to know is that we work very closely with the National Cemetery Administration to develop relationships with their, the regional directors and up above them. And we have regular conversations with them throughout the year to make sure that they know what we're doing with Wreaths Across America and we know what they need to. So if you are having a hard time with a director where maybe it seems like they're kind of almost making it impossible to accomplish something. You're trying to accommodate them, but you just don't feel like it's a a mutual thing, that beneficial thing for both of you. Reach out to your liaisons, because what they can do is, they're going to come to me and say like, hey, we have this issue. If it's something that I think that we can kind of step in there with, we're happy to have a conversation with that cemetery director directly. And we're also, we can have that conversation with their regional director as well. Because sometimes it's just a matter of if you have a very strict rule follower as a cemetery director, they're like, no, we can't do this, but actually we can, because we have the agreement with the NCA themselves. So just don't let it be a hard stop, like, well, we don't have any other choice. Reach out to your liaisons if you're having trouble there, because we can open that conversation. There might be other ways that we can handle it. So, but that is lots of great information. I mean, parking, I think, is one of the, bigger challenges with some of the larger locations, because a lot of these cemeteries, they don't have a lot of parking on site. And it's, very congested, small lanes, one way in and out, lots of different challenges there that we have to deal with. And also a great reason why you should be on that Facebook page and sharing the stuff with your liaisons, because a lot of times, like, you're like, I don't know what to do here. We've probably heard something very similar from someone else. I've been doing this for 15 years. Every now and then I still get surprised with something. I'm like, oh, I've never heard that before. But it is rare, because a lot of things that we've already kind of been through, we've already gotten over that hill, and we can help with. And if I can't help you directly, I can get you to someone who can help you. All right, so we're kind of coming up, we're a little bit over our time right now, but I want to just I'm available to stay on. If you have to jump, you feel free to jump, but if anybody has any other questions or suggestions, we're happy to address those.
I have another one. It's Misha. Sorry.
Go ahead.
In
We can't get rid
Florida,
of you. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to be your thorn forever, or until I'm at Sarasota. In Florida, it is an absolute nightmare and ends up being very disastrous when we receive wreaths early. I know that our partners, we love our partners, we appreciate them, we're grateful to them, but when I get a shipment of wreaths a week early, that means by Christmas they're dead. And that is not a good look, especially with this year. Our wreath lifespan here in our climate on the Gulf Coast is less than 3 weeks. What can be done to eliminate the early deliveries? It's becoming a problem, because people see that when they come in, and then they're mad, and they're like, everybody made all these donations and these wreaths look like crap, they're dead. And we pick up the first weekend after the first Saturday after New Year's. We don't have a choice, and they are usually burnt to a crisp. So
unfortunately, there's not really a ton that we can do. I mean, we don't consider it an early delivery when it's in that 2-week window. I mean, and that's because we're delivering to over 4,600 locations nationwide. We obviously take into account like time coming from Maine. We do have some. We try to, get them from a cross stock if there is an issue where someone's like, hey, I can't get them any earlier. That is certainly something that you can share with your liaisons. They can put it in as a special request. To have them delivered later in the year. It comes down to the individual, the trucking company that's delivering them, if they're able to accommodate that later delivery. A lot of times our larger locations, because it's typically a full truckload that's coming, we can usually make those adjustments if we know about them. So I would say specifically for you, just reach out to your liaisons. Like I said, they can communicate with the logistics team to see if that's something that we can accommodate. And maybe if we know about it early enough that we can say, if the trucking company that's going to be delivering them, if they're not able to accommodate that later delivery, perhaps that's something we can find a different truck willing to do them. Push come to shove, though, we're going to get you those wreaths. If they're like, nope, we can't do it, we got to get them early, we're going to give them to you early, and then try to find a different way to handle it. And maybe that's having them in an area where they're stored in a cooler area so that they're not getting hot. But Yes, always a challenge. But I just encourage you, reach out to your liaisons and let's have that, conversation, because there's not tons we can do when we're looking at free delivery there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Misty.
I just wanted to piggyback off of, is it Misha? So I'm at Dallas Fort Worth National, and I think what really has helped us in the past and last year and all the years before is just communicating with the truck drivers. I mean, we've only had a very few experiences with that, and we literally have our wreaths delivered the day before. And we have a specific time. Obviously, this year we're getting 60,000 wreaths. So, we can not spread that out and come up with other things. But communication with them, I even put them in a little group communication. They're all really hyped up and they seem to be so, eager to help. So I think that really has been our saving grace. It's just really good communication with the trucking companies.
Yeah, and I think too, especially specifically you, Misty, you have a lot of your trucks that come in on they are a part of the ceremony. Am I correct, or am I making that up?
No, we actually just last year was our first convoy. We had a police escorted convoy in, and so they were really eager to join that at 8 a.m. that morning and get in. So I think this year, and JB Hunt is leading that up for us. So it's been really good as long as you can get trucking companies involved and just really get them excited about that. They will do everything possible to get there when you need them to get there. Because we no other choice. If they delivered any other day, I don't know what we would do for unloading or, storing or anything. So I'm just really upfront with that. And we just haven't had any real big issues.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. And that's a great point, because there's a lot of the relationship you have with these drivers. They tell us, hey, we want to come back. We want to go back to this location. And if you can do a convoy, if you can make them a part of your ceremony, we have drivers that call us up and like, I want to go back to this specific cemetery, and they'll volunteer to do that route every year. Once you kind of have that locked in, you have that relationship with them, they're definitely more willing to say like, okay, I'm going to go up. We're going to get you your wreaths. So that we're coming in on the day of and being a part of the ceremony. And it definitely does make it a little bit easier for those special accommodations.
I'd also say too, Julia, it really helps the logistics teams if we know that those carriers want to be involved the following year, right? Because that's a big job. All of these carriers, we're looking at over 700 loads of wreaths this year. That's all we have a team who's literally out there trying to convince carriers why they should want to participate in Wreaths Across America and haul these loads for us, because otherwise we can't deliver them. So having those carriers who are being part of being part of the program and getting that personal relationship, that pretty much guarantees that they're going to get involved next year, which is huge for us for planning purposes. So, that definitely matters for the bigger picture too.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody else have anything? All right. Well, we're going to call it a day, and I'm going to be able to pick up my kids on time from school, and they won't be mad at me. I appreciate you all taking the time out of your day. We will have this recording and the slides up on our volunteer resource page by the end of the day, Monday. It takes like hours to download for some reason, so we're not going to do that today. So you can find it on there Monday. And at any point, like I said, if you are having a problem, you're having a challenge, and you don't know quite how to handle it or what to do next, reach out to us, because we're here to help you. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Thank you for all that you do, because it's not possible without our volunteers out there doing this. So you guys have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Julie.
Thanks, everyone.